Hey, we're going live here in the I told those J Dubs when I crashed the cart. I said I didn't really crash it, but I was just being nice and polite, and I just says, you know what, Satan is real. I go, he even leaves Arizona for the summer. Man, today's 114 degrees in the shade, man. Damn, it's hot.
I think
But
I think it's still about 110 outside.
yeah, there's only one place hotter than Yuma and Phoenix, Arizona, and that's Washington D.C. at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue with the cocaine. And that's what we're going to talk about, not from the political standpoint so much, but the the I put down as the title, the cocaine in the White House is the same thing as Jehovah's Witnesses. What the hell? What do you mean? Is that are we being serious or is that clickbait? And we're being very serious. So I want to introduce who do we have today? We have brother Joe Blow is with me, and we're going to talk about the cocaine in the White House and how this is identical. You are watching the Jehovah's Witness religion uh, in full gear now at the White House. We've been saying this, Jesse, for a long time, and we're not the only ones, but we have been talking a lot about this for years. How the whole world is becoming just like the Jehovah's Witnesses, and how I remember years ago when I did that video about we were petri dish. We were lab rats of the New World Order. It says so in our Bible, the New World Translation. And now everything that we experienced as a Jehovah's Witness is being seen in the White House. You want to talk about what's happening with the cocaine in the White House? You know more about that than I do.
Well, it's like they talk about spiritual. Everything is spiritual. And so if we are on a spiritual journey, there's a crossroads. I always believe there's crossroads. This dimension, that dimension, we cross we cross paths in life.
Mhm.
Economic, religion, freedom. And so we come up with this cocaine in the White House and we say there's a crossroads, there's a nexus with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And people go, okay, what the hell are you guys talking about now? How can you make this connection with the Jehovah's Witnesses? Well,
Easy. Go ahead.
it's a cult. That's the common denominator. You got to break things down to the least common denominator. It's a cult. For example, look at all our Jehovah's Witness apostate Democrat brothers. They won't say a word. They were painting it as the next paradise, this administration. They won't say a word. They'll talk about baseball. They'll talk about football. They'll talk about transgenderism, equality. They won't bring up this subject right here. Nobody will. You will never hear a Jehovah's Witness talk about this subject. You won't hear about it. What if you go to the news today? It was in Congress 2 days ago. The FBI director was testifying before the Congress people, and this was brought up. It was brought up, and nobody knows because it's an ongoing investigation, and the investigation will stop. This is the most secure building in the entire planet. There's cameras everywhere, and they want the American people to believe that, hey, there's nothing to see here. We don't know who brought it in. The Jehovah's Witnesses are the same. It's a cult. It's a cult, and you got to protect the cult leaders at all costs, even if it means your own death, your suicide, your death. Even if your reputation is at stake, it doesn't matter. You protect the organization at all costs. Look at the Jehovah's Witnesses are caught red-handed, just like the coke in the White House. Caught red-handed, everybody knows about it. Jehovah's Witnesses know of all the false doctrines that they come up with, and they brought it up, and they bring it up. All the apostates bring it up, and the Jehovah's Witnesses say 1914, 1975, overlapping generation, Beth Sareem, all the false prophecies. This generation, that generation, the 20th century, the generation that would not die, when confronted with all this evidence of their false prophecies, there's nothing to see here. We don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing. We don't know. There's new light is getting brighter every day. Even though you can talk to any Jehovah's Witness and show them that the light keeps getting dimmer every day, it can't register. Just like when the congressmen were telling the FBI director. It just doesn't register. This is the most secure building in the world. But it doesn't register. It doesn't register because it's a cult. That's the common denominator.
Do you remember that video in Watchtower? I think I deleted it, but I had it. Everybody, a lot of people made videos about it, and where the one of the governing body members, helpers, he says that we must protect the organization at all costs. He said what you just said. So, um, who cares if that cocaine there is going to hurt the children that are nearby? Don't matter. Women and children, you know, women and children usually come first when a sinking ship. Not with Watchtower. You need to protect the people at the top.
Yeah.
And then also the thing is about there's an investigation, but you don't even know who's involved in the investigation. You don't have a report, just like Watchtower, just like what we lived through in the Jehovah's Witness cult. This
Mhm.
is identical. Everything about this story is identical to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Who audits the auditors?
Hmm.
Who fact checks the fact checkers? I mean,
Hmm.
just goes on and on and on. We just have to believe everything. And that's the way it is with Jehovah's Witnesses. But I think it's like this with all cults.
Yeah, and also, you know what you mentioned about like the security cameras. So all of the evidence is there, but nobody's allowed to see the evidence. Same thing with Jehovah's Witnesses. Nobody's allowed. Only the elders are allowed. So when you talked about the Gateway Pundit and the reporting, another thing about the cocaine that's identical to the Jehovah's Witnesses is when you start questioning the people who work at the White House and you start asking them questions
They insult you and they attack you.
and they attack you.
Mhm.
So when you're a Jehovah's Witness and you start asking questions,
Like the reporters, they're asking the reporter at the White House. Their job is to attack, defend
mhm,
at all costs. It boggles the mind. You said you hate research and everything, but these witnesses, they use this word called cognitive dissonance. I don't know what it is. I'm not even going
mhm,
to go down that word.
yeah,
Communist psychiatrist. But
mhm,
what it is it's just cult speak.
that's all it is.
See no evil, hear no evil. Now,
Yeah,
changing the subject a little bit, you said that you have callers and they tell you, even though Watchtower is rotten to the core,
yeah. I had a guy
there's,
call. I
yeah,
got a guy call me. He left the United States to go to Mexico, I guess, for vacation, and also because he wanted to call me from abroad. He wanted to talk to somebody.
wait. He he was picking up chicks in Mexico.
Yeah, kind of like John Cedars type.
Oh, is
And
that why he picked up some broads?
yeah, well, I don't know about that, but he wanted to talk to the guy was paranoid, you know. So he was calling me like from a Mexican line, but he was an American, and he was telling me that he was going back to the United States and stuff. And but he just wanted to talk to somebody. Uh, and so we talked. I let him talk, and this guy is of the belief that Jehovah does have an organization here on Earth. He believes that Watchtower is it, but it has fallen in like in the hands of like in the days of Jesus Christ, where the Pharisees and the Sadducees had taken over, and it just is a matter of time before it could be reformed. But I go, yeah, but wasn't the temple destroyed? You know, so there's a lot of people like our brother-in-law. Our brother-in-law is of that type. He knows Watchtower's full of shit. He's even he's even he's even vocal in his questioning. So there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, like I would say that not Daryl Wildberg, but others. They really do believe in the concept that Jehovah has an organization on earth and that it's gone through an apostate phase and it's the governing body that's currently running it.
Mhm.
And it's just a matter of time before it becomes reformed. And I've had a few people call me and they're of that belief.
It's idol worship. They idolize the organization. In 1974, in the fall of Phnom Penh in Cambodia, I've already told you a couple of times when we talked about this.
Yes.
Um, there was a word called Angkar. Now, in Cambodian, I forget the name of the language. Phnom Penh is the capital of the Cambodian people, but in their language, Angkar translates to English organization. They did everything, the communists in the Cambodian, which was the most evilest form of communism that the world has experienced. The most evil spirit of communism was in the Phnom Penh, Cambodia, in the mid 1970s, and it gave birth to that movie, The Killing Fields, where 2 or 3 million people died in 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
But the way they worshiped, the people worshipped the organization, Angkar. Angkar was everything. Angkar told them how to marry, how to have sex, where to sleep, what house to buy, spouse, everything. It was Angkar. Same thing with the Jehovah's Witness cult. Everything is about the organization. If you study communism, there's something about organizing. If you watch some of the politicians here in the United States, for example, that are called progressives, they use this word organizing. Not organization as a noun, but organizing as a verb. So I think
Correct.
I think there's some kind of spirit of organizing.
Hmm.
You know, just like there's a spirit of progressivism, and a lot of the cults share that in common. They worship the organization. They'll kill for that organization.
Correct. Hey, so I put it right there on the comment section. Look up YouTube, Cambodia, the forced labor of Angkar, LUE cap trend. It's a movie, and in that movie, it's in subtitled in English. And when you start listening to the movie, watching the movie, it's it's identical to being a Jehovah's Witness. It's identical, and it's the worship of the organization.
Hey,
There
what's
we
that
go.
sound? Is that me?
No, they're trying to they're trying to replace it.
Oh, the battery.
Yeah, we got a technician on the house. Yeah,
Hey,
there's a
so
tech.
do you have any other questions?
No, no, why?
Oh, how many? Because I can't see the chat room. How many chats you got?
No, 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 nothing here.
Oh,
But but yeah, if you want to talk about that, but if you look at this, look up that video.
hmm. Hey, Gilbert.
Uh, mhm.
Going back to what you said about the you mentioned that that brother called you and he started saying that it could be reformed. Would you consider him a PMO, or is he indoctrinated? What's his problem? Because you said that he doesn't have faith in the current leadership.
I've talked to a lot of people where they're still physically in, mentally in. They still believe in the Jehovah's Witness doctrine. They question like the overlapping generation and so forth, and but they have no faith in the current governing body, and they believe that the current governing body are like the Pharisees of the times of Jesus. So there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses that know that there's problems in the organization, but they actually think that Jehovah's organization here on earth can be reformed. Now, if you notice, I'm the only. I mean, just you never hear other people in Jehovah's Witness videos use that phrase as much as I do. I use Jehovah's organization here on earth always because that's how they speak. They actually, uh, my brother-in-law, circuit overseer, would always use that phrase. It's very common with the people, the Bethelites and the. In order for you to go to Gilead, I remember reading articles in the Watchtower where the governing body would come up to you and say, "Do you believe that Jehovah's using this organization?" Yada yada. And so that phrase, Jehovah's organization here on earth, is a very powerful tool that they have uh, to trap Jehovah's Witnesses. They actually believe that God had an organization with Moses, God had an organization with Noah, and Jesus was an organizer. See, they've fallen into the trap of organization, and they actually believe Jehovah has an organization here on earth. So that's why a lot of people believe it can be reformed. You
But
know,
what did he say after? I mean, what did you? How did you answer him? What did you tell him? You just listened to this guy, or
well, like you would try to use a thing about the Pharisees and the Sadducees and stuff. I go, yeah, but I go, the curtain was torn, and then the temple was destroyed. So there was so I guess you could say that it was reformed when it
Hmm.
was ground to the dust, but no, they're believers. They really do believe. It's like Christians. Christians really do believe that you have to go to church because there's a word, ecclesiastica, or something in a some Greek word in the Bible. But now you get that, and I have some saran wrap. I should bring it over so we can stretch. So now we're going to stretch this word, and now I can justify buying and building a $10 million church by having some old people donate their land and some young men who are contractors donate their trades to build a $10 million house for Jesus. You see, Jesus needs 10 million because that's what it costs. Jesse, these buildings are like in the they're not 1 million, they're not 2 million. I mean, these are like $10 million properties here in Phoenix, Arizona. So some of these buildings, like in Central Avenue in Phoenix, that it's from the skyscrapers north, Central Avenue. It, Jesse, some of these are city blocks, huge city block churches. You know they were donated by old people that uh, instead of giving the property to their children, gave it to the church. City blocks and a whole bunch of them, and they're Jesse. Their values are in the tens, 20s, $30 million. But guess what? We need to have those churches because some Greek word, ecclesiastica or something. We use these words, Greek words, these fancy language, fancy salespeople to justify making a house for Jesus Christ and congregating because we actually believe that Jesus needs to have organizations here on earth. No, no, no. Now, if you want to do something, if you want to have a $10 million church and all of the maintenance and upkeep and all the money and cash flow that you need to have it, if that's the light that you want to shine, go for it. Go for it. That's I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say you're gonna go to hell. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that people actually believe these lies, and because of that, they're sucked into a system of things, and there's lots of money to be made. But you can't make money, Jesse, when you keep it simple. You can't make money in a church when you keep it simple. Or you can't, you know what I should do? I should do this one. Uh, let me pull up a slide. Let me pull up a slide. I'm going to show you how you can't make money. And they're going to get, this guy will get mad at me. PDF. Here we go. You know how you can't make money? It's processing right now. It's going. Right there. Accept your birthright. God is your father and you are his son, daughter. Let no man get between you and your father. When you accept your birthright and you just walk on the earth, then guess what? You can't make money off people like that. The only time you can make money is when you tell people you gotta listen to the Apostle Paul. And I love the Apostle Paul, but you gotta listen to the Apostle Paul. And you gotta go to church every Saturday or every Sunday because of that Greek word. And it's the body of Christ. And now next thing you know, you're slaving away and you're working on the landscape, you're working on the plumbing, you're painting the church, and then you realize it's a $10 million property. It's a 40, $50 million property. Why? Because these people didn't accept their birthright. They don't know how to be free. They're not free people. They're always enslaving. They're no different than the Jehovah's Witnesses. They
Or
actually believe Jehovah has an organization here on earth.
remember Dr. Zhivago when that prisoner, they were all on the train? And
Yeah.
he goes, I'm the only free one here. They
I'm
were
the
all
only
on the
free.
train. And he was bound for the gulags in the frozen tundra of Siberia.
Mhm.
And he tells all those Russians, the Soviets, I'm the only free one here. Nobody would think for themselves.
There was also one in MASH with Hawkeye Pierce, and he's in jail. and he's jumping in and out of the jail cell because they opened up the door. And he goes, "See, I can jump in." He goes, "I can jump out. I can jump in. I can jump out." And the prison guards, they're robots. All the prison guards are robots. There is no thinking. But yeah, he was in jail. But it's the same thing. Uh, when you go to church, when you go on a regular basis because you fear upsetting the Apostle Paul. When you believe that Jehovah has an organization here on earth, you're a prisoner. You know, I'm not saying don't go. I'm just saying it's a mindset. It's that God has organizations.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying if you feel like doing it, fine. Let your light shine. But here's the thing: if you're running an organization in the multi millions of dollars, Jesse, there's so many things that can go wrong. And do you really want that? You want to be steering that ship? Wouldn't it be better just to steer a small ship that like 3, 4 people, like your wife and kids and so forth? Less problems, and if something goes wrong, well, you can fix it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
In the long history of man, we learn a lot of valuable lessons. And one of the valuable lessons I think I've learned is that when people follow organizations, um, especially for the sake of following an organization, that means that men who are lettered in certain vocations are removed if they're not yes men or company men, giving you a lower quality of labor, a lower quality of management, a lower quality of leadership, because you've eliminated all the thinking people and you replace them. So in the Soviet Union, for example, they confiscated or nationalized all the wealth and all the means of production. That means the factories, the stores. So they would ship the business owners to Siberia or to the gulags or kill them or execute them. So what kind of business owners were left? People who couldn't run industry. You had an inferior form of production. Same thing's happening with Watchtower. All the brothers, the smart ones, have left. They're left with all the yes men, the company men, the dorks, the nerds, whatever you want to call them, the Sergio Velasquez and the Javier Leones. They can't build shit. Would you want to be in an organization led by Javier Leon and Sergio Velasquez? I mean, think about it. Or Paul.
Jesse.
Yeah.
So check this out. I'm gonna. Do you know anything about the Rhodesian dollar?
Just that it went into massive, massive hyperinflation.
Yeah, but what you don't know.
Mhm.
Do you remember Paul Harvey says you don't know the rest? Now you know the rest of the story.
Yes.
So I'm gonna pull the. I'm copying from Wikipedia, and I'm putting it there. Do you see where it says the dollar was introduced on February 1970, less than a month before the Declaration of the Republic on March 1970? It replaced the Rhodesian pound at a rate of $2 to £1. The point I'm trying to make here, I don't know what happened. The point I'm trying to make here is that the Rhodesian dollar, Jesse, was at 2 to 1, 1 to 1, 2 to 1. You go to Mexico, 17 to 1, whatever, 22 to 1. There were white people in Rhodesia, farmers, industry. You were better off living in Rhodesia in Africa than living in America. Life was better. All YouTube is filled with people that left, like Iran. They left Iran. Life was great, and it was at par. And now you talk about the runaway inflation, and then that in the tens of thousands to one. That's what you're describing. Watchtower, where they get rid of all of the thinkers, and what happens to what you have of value turns to shit. And it happened in Iran. I was watching, I like to watch Duke Ellington and Count Basie. Duke Ellington tells a story about him going on tour. He was in Afghanistan, in Kabul, a completely different Kabul than you and I know. And it's like what you talk about. It's everything that the communists touch turns to shit. Everything that organizations touch turns to shit. You just go, the list goes down. Just one after another. But going back to the point, that's what Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses believe, that Watchtower can be reformed.
Wow.
And they're holding out.
Can.
Our brother-in-law is one of them. Our brother-in-law criticizes Watchtower. We shouldn't say that because he might lose favor. And he'll say, no, it's not true. They're just apostate lies.
Mm-mm. They taught me, Joe and Paul taught me about Brother Franz.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew who Brother Franz was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So no, Watchtower can't be reformed. It's dirty to the core. Its very foundation is based on pyramidology. And it's interesting that the pyramids had the sacrifice. They would cut off people's hearts while they were alive. They would rape women and children. They would rape children, Jesse. And granted, a lot of people that worked in the pyramids were paid because of their expertise. But the great majority of the workers that were grunts, they were slave laborers. It's identical. The cocaine in the White House is the same as Jehovah's Witnesses. So are the pyramids. The pyramids are just identical copies of Jehovah's Witnesses. You sacrifice people's lives at the hospital. You rape the children. You steal the labor. And then the pyramids were used for show. It was a Las Vegas. When we were at the pyramids in Mexico, the guy was saying during the equinox, and also because the Earth goes through its equinox, and then there's different stations, right? So when it's tilting back and forth, and then that's how
Wait.
when.
It's tilting on its axis.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
round.
tilting on its axis, yeah, and then it goes straight up and down, and then you got the equinox, and so then when to farm. So the farmers know this, right? But they would use this, and as the light would enter the pyramid, it would just be like a Las Vegas show. It would be, but right before that, the priests were telling the kings, go and tell the people that God, if you show me favor, give us a sign. Well, that at certain time the sun's going to align because the pyramid is designed that way, and the light's going to shine through and it's going to illuminate everything. So it's a show. And all of the laborers, they didn't go to college. All of the laborers didn't have YouTube or cell phones. So they saw this magical show and thought, well, God must be with them. God, and so same thing with Watchtower. Watchtower does this great show, and then this one person's always commenting. Did you ever see that guy? He's commenting in everybody's channel, and he says, "So did Jesus send you to preach against Jehovah's Witnesses? Who's the one preaching all over the earth, all over the world?" See, they get you on that. It's a show. So they have all of these publications and all of these different languages. It's a show. Everything is a show. Everything is Broadway. And that's what they do with the pyramids. So the pyramids are identical to the cocaine in the White House and the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's all the same thing. King Solomon was right. There's nothing new with cocaine in the White House and Jehovah's Witnesses. The same. There's nothing new between the pyramids and the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's the exact same thing. It's hiding information from the people, dominating the people, and letting them know we are in charge.
Like Albert used to tell you?
Like the Jehovah's Witness elder in Yuma, Arizona, Albert Ramos. When I moved from Welton back to Yuma, I was 20 years old. I was 20 years old. No, I was 21 years old. And he's looking at my letter that came from Welton to Yuma, and he goes, Gilbert, in all of the years I've been serving as an elder, I've never seen a letter as stellar as yours. The brothers in Welton love me. You know what I did there. And he goes, I'm telling you. And then he goes, I just want to let you know that in this congregation, we're in charge. Mm-hmm. He was threatened by me. I came with high praise. Mm-hmm. And he was threatened. Like, don't you think that you're going to take away my power? I that was the farthest thing on my mind.
Gilbert, Gilbert, now Albert had a stroke real early.
Yeah.
Do they poison themselves, their body? Do they
Yeah.
poison themselves with their...
Look, I'm 19 years old. I'm 19 years old. I'm taking Albert Ramos and Mark Deanda, your neighbor, your business, right next to you. And I'm a young working man, and I'm taking two elders out to lunch. So I wanted to, I'm interested in the religion, right? I'm trying to, I'm just interested. And I'm taking different elders out to lunch. You know what those sons of bitches told me? That Albert Ramos was proud that he has gone, like, he says, honest God, he goes, it's been a month since your friend Mark Deanda and I have paid for lunch. They used to get off on having other people take them to lunch and other people paying the lunch. They used to get off on it. And when he said that, I just thought to myself, no wonder my dad doesn't like you. My dad didn't like him. And I just knew. I was like, fuck, who talks that way? Who says, I haven't bought lunch in over 30 days because I have a whole bunch of people that I can sucker into getting me lunch.
It's better to give than to receive. He can't say that.
And he's an elder.
He likes to get instead of give. Yeah.
And he was threatened by a 20. Here's this guy. He had 5 kids, and he's threatened with me. I mean, come on. Like I'm just. But but he goes, your letter was so stellar. He goes, I've never ever seen a letter like yours. But see what it is I was actually working, and the people there genuinely knew I loved them. Everybody in that congregation knew I loved them. Jesse, I spent the night at their homes. Nicolas Juarez, he wouldn't go to the meetings. When I left, he was a ministerial servant in good standing. I mean, these guys loved me. Why? Because I would go to their homes and I wouldn't preach to them. I would go to their homes with steaks, and we would just eat and enjoy each other's company. They don't know how to do that. They don't know how to love. Jesse, that's how when I went to that congregation, there was only like about 2-3 people showing up on a Sunday. When I left, there was over 100 people in Welton alone. Why? Because you don't preach to the choir. You sing with the choir.
Right.
I had dinner with the choir. And you know how beautiful it is to go have dinner in the middle of the Arizona desert in the wintertime, the springtime, and all the stars, there's no light anywhere to be found,
Hey, and then when you drive down the street, mom and dad would say, hey, there goes our son.
That's what I'm saying, so they knew, but there you go. The elders were threatened by me.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for, the elders are looking for position, and that so.
We're coming on 35 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
So the cocaine in the White House is the same thing as Jehovah's Witness.
It's a crossroads.
And I'm hoping everybody can see that. Yeah. That
Crossroads
King Solomon
is the cult.
Yeah. So King Solomon is right. There's nothing new under the sun.
No. All right, Gilbert. I gotta go.
Hold on. Oh. Let me just put that out, just in case. I think I have it on replay, but I just want people to see that there is nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new between the cocaine in the White House and Jehovah's Witnesses, and there's nothing new between JWorg cannot be reformed. It's just like the temple of Jesus. It has to be destroyed. There's nothing new here. It's all the same story. Apostle Babe, I'm sorry you just got here. If you go back, you're going to love it, and you're going to agree with me like everybody always does. And then when you watch this video, because you guys came here late, you're going to say, damn, Gilbert really is the Jehovah's Witness elder I wish I had when I was going to the Kingdom Hall. So I hope you guys liked it. And I thought it was a great subject, Jesse.
Yep.
Yeah, everything we're seeing in the news right now is identical to what we lived as Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
All right. 35 minutes.
35 minutes. All right, guys. We'll see you later.